it twice.
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is
12 p.m.
It's Thursday, June 6, 2024. Welcome to CVM News at Noon. I'm Nika Lewis. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, says it's investigating the police killing of two brothers in Hanover on Tuesday. The police say they were confronted while executing a warrant in the Green Island community. Dead are Enrique and Romaine Harvey, both said to have been part of the Vendetta gang, which is responsible for a series of violent crimes in the parish. During the operation, the police say two 9mm semi-automatic pistols and several rounds of ammunition from the two men were seized. We'll continue to track this story in the news at 7. Now, Transport Minister Darrell Vaz is doubling down on his decision to ban all ride-sharing apps locally. He says the move was a matter of national security, and since the announcement, several companies have engaged him and other stakeholders to find the best way forward.
All of a sudden, everybody is coming out of the woodwork. So it has had its effect in terms of getting everybody onto the table. As we speak, there's a meeting taking place at the Transport Authority with the steering committee and members of the local transportation sector, including those who have apps or have designed apps, and we'll be working through with them. In relation to Uber, as I said before, I understand that's a very popular rideshare app, and I can say, as I said in Parliament yesterday, that they did come to the table with me 6 weeks or 8 weeks ago, and they have continued to be in touch with the Transport Authority, working out certain protocols in relation to their platform and how we can access information for security checks, etc., to satisfy ourselves. So I think that one will also be resolved. But the bottom line is that as Minister, I had to do what I did to basically draw a line in the sand and bring everybody together and make sure that at the end of the day, we have a situation where the government of Jamaica is protecting its citizens, and also those who are doing business in Jamaica are following the rules and regulations set, and that include fare structures and otherwise. So I do believe that in the coming days, weeks, we will be able to resolve most of the issues, and I don't see this situation as an open-ended situation, because it is in nobody's interest to have the rideshare apps not accessible for the convenience of the commuters and traveling public.
Meanwhile, the minister's decision has sparked a heated debate among various stakeholders in the transportation industry and beyond. Ramon Gordon has more.
The government's ban on ride-sharing apps on Tuesday has sparked controversy as stakeholders across various industries weigh in. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz, in a media release last evening, said he had instructed Cable and Wireless Jamaica to restrict access to some travel apps, including Uber, 876 On The Go, and the now infamous InDrive. The latter, the minister says, has failed to respond to meeting requests to discuss safety concerns. Speaking with the CVM News anonymously due to fear of prosecution, one Uber driver cried foul.
I was really shocked, to be honest with you, and this is my daily bread, so it's really taken me by surprise. The ride can be shared from the driver to people and also the passenger to their people. It is a safe app, so I think this drastic measure that you took, it is really unfair, and you're also killing the homes of people who are trying to feed their family.
Another driver is accusing the government of hypocrisy.
I even pick up persons, very important person, them jacket and I were working at the House of Parliament. Me never call name and load up the person, but me even take one of the person who was sitting on the cabinet. You understand? So how is it that you're going to pick up for something that it is so beneficial to everyone in Jamaica? That is ridiculous.
Commentators on social media were equally unforgiving. On X, one user said, "The government has failed at providing reliable, safe, efficient transportation options, and our response to alternatives is to ban them." Another said, "Instead of banning the apps, why not implement proper security protocols for ride-sharing companies? However, others have welcomed the development, although it appears for different reasons.
Our members, our 37,000 or more members in Jamaica has been losing because of the advent of Uber and InDrive. The fact is that they have been undercutting the cost of local transportation.
Edgerton Newman, president of one of the largest taxi associations locally, has been lobbying against ride-sharing apps for at least 3 years, citing regulatory concerns.
My taxi man, if you want to drive a taxi, he has to go to all the rudiments. You have to get the police record, training, every single thing, just to drive a taxi.
Newman believes the ban is necessary.
We as Jamaicans love to come out and make pronouncements when something happens. And I think this happened because of the situation with the young teacher. But I must say, we have been looking at this situation for the past 3.5 to 4 years.
The Transport Ministry has not yet released a contingency plan to address commuters who may be affected by the move. It's also unclear how many Jamaicans may be out of work following the move. Up to news time, our team still had access to at least 2 of the apps on the chopping block. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Elsewhere now, developing networks for capital inflows into the University of the West Indies remains top priority for its management. Vice-Chancellor Professor Sir Hilary Beckles acknowledged the efforts made so far. He says the UWI Mona campus is aiming to generate $7.4 billion over the next 5 to 7 years through Phase 2 of a strategic initiative dubbed the Revenue Revolution. Speaking on Lead Story with George Davis Wednesday, the campus registrar, Dr. Donovan Stanbury, says they have to up the ante.
And having somewhat secured our reputation,
yes,
being rated by the Times Higher Education has been in the top 3% of universities. We now have to leverage that repetition to earn some revenue.
yes.
So our current 2022-2027 5-year plan outlines a number of strategies. So again, I say we are not veering from our core business.
The Greater Augustown Film Festival GATFest has announced its 2024 film festival launch committed to inclusivity and cultural awareness. In collaboration with the Colombian Embassy, there will be a community night hosted on June 22 in Tivoli Gardens, Kingston, sharing the magic of cinema. The film features the story of dementia patients and their families, taking a cultural spin to include Jamaican voices and experiences. Here's more on this from this morning's Sunrise.
Colombia's interest in the GATFest Film Festival?
Well, the GATFest is a great opportunity for us to show the diversity in Colombia. You have like in the Caribbean coast, you have African descent people. In the mainland, you have mixed color people. And in my archipelago, you have Jamaican descent people.
Yes.
So we will talk for Patois when we're ready. And we have our connection, our tie. So our interest is like to show the different Colombia that you can explore and experiment through the films. Well, Tivoli, like in my heart, is the first community I visited since my tenure here. And I get in love with the people, the mural, the vibes in the community. So we will return with this picture. Then further ahead, we will return contributing with some murals. And, you know, I just like the community work. And I feel like they are anxious to receive the help and the contribution of all. So that is my reason to be there this year with the film.
And you know, again, you speak to the different, the multi-layered, the textured nature of Colombian culture.
Yes.
And, you know, partnering with GATFest for a film that is very Jamaican, told in Jamaican. I mean, what do you think a Colombian reception of such a film would be like?
I think could be excellent. We have the connection of the, I would say, the ethnics, the toys, the African, history, and the film is like a life of somebody from Jamaica. Like if you take somebody from Jamaica and put it in the film, it would be the same. So that's why I think it will be wonderful. The people will receive it, and it is in patois.
Wonderful indeed. It's now time for a break. CVM News at Noon returns in a moment.
Keep Jamaica, say me good it. Keep Jamaica clean. Beg you listen to me please. No plastic bag, no fear blowing at the breeze. No proper garbage disposal, recycle plastic, now make it full up in the streets. Bag it and bin it, every rubbish in a pan. No dirty up the place, this a we island. So keep Jamaica, say me good it. A message from the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
SuperMed Family of Pharmacies, your trusted partner in health and wellness for over 30 years. With 8 convenient pharmacies across Eastern Jamaica. SuperMed Mall Pharmacy, SuperMed New Kingston, SuperMed Pepin, SuperMed Port Antonio Pharmacies 1 and 2, Claire's St. Mary, Lloyd's St. Thomas, and a convenient drive-through at our Hughenden location where you can get your medication without leaving your car. We're dedicated to providing you with the highest level of care. Experience the difference with SuperMed Family of Pharmacies. Super happy, super healthy.
And you go down and have a good day. Blessing. SuperMed.
Copa America 2024 is coming to you this summer, right here on CVM TV. That's right, you get big side access from the comfort of your home so you can catch all the live action. Tune in and watch as Brazil, Argentina, Jamaica, USA, and more battle for Copa Supremacy. Tournament kicks off on June 20 and runs through to July 14. Cheer on the boys and see the goals and drama of Copa America happen live on CVM TV.
Welcome back. It's time for our discussion segment, and we're talking football. The public is confronted now with much disappointment that the World Cup qualifying match time has been changed to 3:30 p.m. from the advertised 6:30 p.m. today. Now, this is due to CONCACAF inspections finding that the lighting at the stadium is insufficient to host the game at the original 6:30 advertised time. So the time change raises concerns, naturally, that the National Stadium won't have as much support in terms of crowd to facilitate and to rally on the boys in their first qualifying match against the Dominican Republic, and that it will be well below the original expected projections. This comes on the heels of other disappointment after Jamaica opted not to host any of the matches in the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup. So we're now being joined by Mr. Dave Cameron, former president of the West Indies Cricket Board, and he's also the current chair of the private sector organization of Jamaica Sports and Entertainment Development Committee. And we also have CVM's sports analyst and presenter, Orville Higgins. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you very much.
Cameron?
I'm well, thank you very much. How are you all?
Not too bad.
All right. Orville, you're not going to take over today, all right?
No, I realize.
But I'll start with you. I'm picking on you. Please, Orville, explain to the viewers what happened and what was the issue expressed by CONCACAF in a little more details.
Well, what has happened is that the stadium lights have always not been adequate. The interesting thing is, late last year, I think it was in December, Cavalier and Harborview playing in the Caribbean round of football competition, the club competition in CONCACAF, were both fined $10,000 US for inadequate light at the stadium. So the powers that be ought to have known that the stadium lights, if the local teams could have been fined $10,000 for inadequate lights for a club game, Cavalier versus some other club in the region, then we should have known that for a World Cup qualifying game, then the standards would probably even be higher. So what has happened is that CONCACAF has put their foot down saying, no, we're not going to accept this light. Sometime about 2 weeks ago, that communique was sent to the JFF, and in a mad scramble to get lights at the stadium, I understand that some lights were ordered from Japan, I think it was. It came a little, that hasn't come yet. They scramble around and got some lights to borrow locally, understanding that could be lights at Tivoli and elsewhere. But by the time those lights were installed, the inspection process had already gone. And I'm understanding that even so, the lights that they've managed to scramble around and get still wouldn't be completely adequate. So it's a grand mess. The game was supposed to be at 6:30. The game will now have to be held at 3:30. And while the players have said publicly, well, we are professionals, we'll play any time, it will be a massive dent on the kind of fan following that they'll get.
Well, you mentioned, Orville, a few things that I'd like to piggyback on and introduce now to Mr. Cameron when I bring him in the conversation. One, that there will not be much crowd support. So, Mr. Cameron, one, how critical is crowd support for a game of this caliber or any form of match of this nature? And two, after you answer that one, I'll come back to that one, number two, after number one.
Thank you very much, Orville, and thanks for outlining the issues. Now, crowd support is normally a 12th man, and in a game as important as this, your first round game, you definitely wanted all the persons. I myself was planning to attend, but at 3:30 in the day, unfortunately, I won't be able to be there. So it will be a dent, not having our Jamaican support, huge public out there. You would have seen what has happened in the last two events at the stadium with the track and field. So we would have expected a good turnout.
Yes, but then Orville also mentioned, Mr. Cameron, something to the extent that the organizers or those in charge locally would have already been aware based on what happened with that match earlier in the month, or previously rather. Orville, correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned a football game
in December of last year.
Okay, so it's even, several months now. Isn't that sufficient time for us to get our act together for such an important event as this one?
You know, part of the challenge I have found with Jamaica and other regions as well is the sharing of information. So now that we have a crisis, we're expecting that everybody would have been aware. And Orville knows that happened in January, whatever it was, with Harborview and Cavaliers. But is the government aware? Is the IPL aware? And when were they made aware? Is the SDF made aware of these challenges? And when?
What I can say to that, the minister... let me just interrupt. The minister was...
Orville, allow Mr. Cameron to finish, and then I'll allow you.
Yeah. So Orville, part of the reason why there's a Sports and Entertainment Development Committee at the PSOJ is particular for those things, because we have a lot of pockets of information. And one of the things that we want to do at the end of the day is to really reactivate the National Sports Council, because a lot of these things are happening in pockets. So what is the private sector? What's important to them? What's important to the government? All the agencies involved in sports and entertainment, how are they working together to ensure that we have, the objectives that we need? And so, again, without the information, I don't want to blame anybody, is how do we ensure that this doesn't happen again and improve on what we have for our athletes and, of course, the audience of patrons.
Orville, before you chime in, just bear in mind, I want to know how can the stakeholders work together?
Well, that's clearly